All right, everybody, we are here with Trevite Willis. Hello.
Hello.
And I believe your title, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, your title is Director of the Southern Fried Film Festival for 2023. Is that correct?
It's executive director and founder.
Executive Director and Founder. Okay, I got to give you more titles. Be like the Khaleesi in Game of
Exactly.
Thrones.
Exactly.
Anything else I need to know?
Mother of dragons.
Excellent. Okay, I will not cross you. Um, we're going to be mostly just talking about this year's Southern Fried Film Festival. It's a mouthful for me,
Yes.
and also just the film festival in general because I think you've been a
Right.
part of it since its founding, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I guess start
Um,
there. Start there. Tell us a little bit about the film festival, like in general, and also
yeah.
this year, and what brought you to it, and all that good stuff.
Okay, a little history. We started the festival in 2018. We didn't have a festival in 2019 because I have many hats. So not only am I executive director of the film festival, I'm also a producer. And so I produce. And excuse me. And so we I was producing a film in 2019, so we didn't have it in 2019. We were able to pivot in 2020 and 2021 during the pandemic and have free drive-in festival. And then 2022, last year, we went back into a theater, and then we also did kind of like a hybrid. So we had some outdoor screenings, and then we went back indoors. And then this year, we're fully indoors because it's Alabama summer, so I don't know how it's going to turn out. We were super lucky last year. It was not super hot, so I didn't want to press my luck 2 years in a row.
So for the locals like myself, most of the screenings this year are at Low Mill. Is that right?
And opening night is at the Intuitive Planetarium at the Space and Rocket Center.
Excellent, excellent. And as someone who came from the Northwest, where we had lots of independent cinema, and you yourself have a lot of history in New York, I do believe.
Yes.
You may even be talking about the 40-year-old version, possibly from 2019. If we want to drop
Oh,
something
yes.
there, the 40-year-old version is still on Netflix. People, go check that out. All right. Anyway, just throw that your way too. Uh, as someone who, two people who come from places that have a pretty robust independent film community to North Alabama, where I now live. I believe you live here too. Um, we are have a very big drought of independent cinema availability. So how does that passion for you, like what do you see? So obviously the festival itself brings that to the people here.
Right.
But do you even see beyond that? Like what is your vision for like independent cinema in North Alabama?
Um, well, I'm not a full-time resident here.
Okay.
I live in LA. I still live in New York, LA, and then I come here several times a year
Okay.
to work on the festival, but also to see my family. Um, and so, in terms of independent cinema, it's interesting because there are cinemas here. The major cinemas here do play independent films because there's some films that I wanted to show, but they were playing already here, and I couldn't play them in my festival, like How to Blow Up a Pipeline, you know,
Seen it. Good.
Polite,
Excellent.
yeah, Polite Society came out. They were able to show it here. There's some really good things that are in the festivals this year that I wasn't. Even last year, Everything Everywhere All at Once played at a cinema. And mind you, it doesn't have a long stay and it's not promoted. And I think that's what's missing in terms of um, North Alabama. And so what I would like to do eventually is figure out a way to be more year round and have a year round home so we can show the smaller films and support them in terms of letting people know that they're actually there. Because, I don't even think people even knew Polite Society played here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I personally had to drive both of my kids to the opening day of Everything Everywhere All at Once I'm in Athens, so it's about almost an hour drive each way. And I'm like, well, we got to make it over to that one.
Yeah.
And I was right. I made a good
Yes.
choice on that one. But even
Good
then,
call. Good call.
they almost have to be like they have to be A24. They have to somehow break through a little bit. But yeah, Pipeline, I'm surprised that made it. So that brings us to this festival and some of the things people should be
Yes.
excited about this festival. And I will personally attest because I've already seen two of them. I've seen Linoleum.
Okay.
It's in one of my top lists for the year so far. I kind of keep an ongoing list as the year goes. And
I perused it.
I have seen Joyland, also an excellent, excellent film. So, do you who curates? How does the curation go for this festival?
So we have a committee. We have a programming committee. And so what we do is we also have a way of people submitting through Film Freeway for, so we have a submission process. And then we're kind of a best of festival type of film festival. So we look at what's played Tribeca last year because Tribeca now, since the pandemic, falls the same weekend as my festival or our festival. It's not
It's
mine.
yours. You own it.
No, no, not at all. We're a nonprofit, of our festival, and so now I just can't get the last minute titles from Tribeca. So I'm generally a year out. And then we look at Sundance and South by, and then we look at other regional festivals that are a bit bigger to see what's played there as well. And so then, we ask the filmmaker if we can, look at a screener and if they'll allow us to have it because we're a budding film festival. It's hard to get some of the bigger films, but lately I've been able to squeak one or two here and there in the last couple of years. So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I think last year you had Fire of Love, and
Yeah.
that became kind of a big buzz movie. Tell me about
Yeah.
some movies. Well, put it this way: in past festivals, what movies have really struck you? Like, wow, we had that movie. And then this year, I don't want you to pick favorites, but what should people be excited about from this year's festival? So, a couple, two or three from the previous festivals that you just absolutely adored, and then some things about this festival people should be aware of. I can list them all if you want, but I mean, go ahead.
I would probably for yeah. I love last year's programming. I think, and I was very lucky to get some things that hadn't shown in North Alabama or here in Huntsville yet. And so I was super excited. Fire of Love was one of them, right? Like having that as the opening night film. And the process for a small festival like mine is very hard. I got it 2 weeks before I screened opening night. Like I went through so many films and got so many no's from big films. And I mean big indie films.
Right, right, right.
And and so it was very hard because this was, the programming committee can only do so much and then we have to just keep going after distributors seeing if they would allow their film to play in our budding festival, right? So Fire of Love was one. I love Sirens um, from last year. I think the sleeper was Poser. I love Poser, and I think it's a really good film. I would suggest people see it because it's what indie should be. It was made in Columbus, Ohio. It was small budget, and it's youthful, but it gave you that sense of indies from, the 90s. So I just really, really adored it. This year, the opening night film, of course. I
Hmm.
once I saw it was listed on, you know, Sundance, I just went after it because it was just the perfect film for Huntsville.
Right.
So The Longest Goodbye, and also the closing night film. The closing night film is Little Richard. Um, Lisa Cortez, the director, I know her, so she also has a film at Tribeca, and I was hoping to do maybe I don't know what I wanted to do, but I just reached out because her film at Tribeca is called The Space Race, and it's about
Mm.
Black astronauts. And I was like, she has two films that are so Huntsville.
Oh yeah,
Little
obsessed.
Richard's Buried Here and Black Astronaut. So I emailed her and she was like, well, do you want to show Little Richard? And I was like, well, yes, I do want to show Little Richard. So that one is another one. And one that I just think is so progressive and so unique is a documentary called This World Is Not My Own.
Yes.
And it's about the artist Nellie Mae Rowe. And it's just so good. And how they use claymation and
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah, it's
That's
great.
flagged. That's flagged on mine too. I have to work a bunch, so I can't see all of the films. And I've seen two. I'm lucky, so I don't have to pick those because I've
Yeah,
already seen them. But of all the ones I've starred, and they all look really cool. There's a lot of variety here. For people who
yeah,
don't go to the site yet, you should go because they have like family kind of oriented ones, and then they
yeah,
have dramatic narrative ones, and then a bunch of documentary ones. And I had definitely
yeah.
starred. All three that you listed were starred on mine, among a couple others. Unfortunately, I
Which
can't
were
make
the
it to
other
all of them.
ones? Which were the
Well,
other ones?
Black Barbie is on my radar as
Oh, it's
well.
really good. Yeah,
I would like to see the Lonely Castle in the Mirror, but there's no way I can make it to that. I think
yeah.
you don't care about my schedule. I can, I'll
I
make
do
it to.
care about the schedules. I love to hear what a cinephile feels about
Yeah, I would have
the
picked a
things
couple of the
we
other
program.
ones. Yeah, I would have picked the other ones that I've already seen because they're awesome too. Um, but The Longest Goodbye for sure is on my list. The World Is Not My Own just struck out to me because I love
Yeah,
documentaries, but it definitely looked to be really interesting in presentation and subject
yeah,
matter, which for
it
me
is.
is
Yeah,
a double win. I mean, it could just be a great documentary with people talking is
right.
fine, but when it has that extra sauce, that's like, wow, great.
That and it does. It is saucy.
Yeah, that's awesome. It looks really good. And Little Richard, I mean, that's just a no-brainer. I mean, come on now. What are you gonna do?
Oh, wow. It is such a great documentary, and I'm just so lucky to have it. So, yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one for sure too.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so I have to look at my notes. 'Cause I'm forgetting what I was gonna say to you. Um, oh yes, so this is kind of off the subject a little bit, but and I think I'd messaged this to you guys. We do a weird thing every week, but it also allows you to tell people about movies you love. We do a little box. We have a literal box, and listeners and actually filmmakers, believe it or not, filmmakers have put stuff in this box too, because Greg and Eric, my co-hosts, they do a lot of interviews, lots of interviews. They'll be interviewing people that I'm like, oh my gosh, you interviewed that person, Jim Cummings, oh my gosh, all kinds of people, and they'll ask them to put a movie in the box, and all it is I literally will pick a slip of paper out each week for a movie I'll watch that I haven't seen, or maybe I have seen, but it's been a long time. But usually it's something that you love it, but you don't hear much about it. I'm guessing you have a lot of those. Um, I know it's putting you on the spot, but some movie that you think doesn't get talked about enough or doesn't get seen enough.
I don't know. I mean, if I go back to the films that I've shown, and I was kind of thinking about that, and Yellow Rose, I don't know if you saw that one, but Yellow Rose is the one that I saw it on the plane. I had already did like, and it was the during the pandemic. I was traveling for work. It was 2021. I had picked the two films that we were going to show the two nights at the drive-in. And then for some reason, I just decided to watch Yellow Rose on the plane. And I was going cross country twice, three times actually, I think, because I had to go to California back. No, twice. And I watched it both times.
That's a good sign.
And I cried, a bald cry both times. And so then I was just like, nope, we're gonna play this. And because during the pandemic, we were thinking of doing things that were kind of tried to get four quadrant films, like that's for everyone, like
Hmm.
kids to adults, but we couldn't. It was just really hard to find, something that fit everybody. That wasn't already like something that people always see, like Harry Potter or Jaws or something like that. So
Right.
in the indie world. And so I just picked it. And so then I reached out to the director and had her do a panel, a virtual panel, and even that was wonderful. So I am a fan. I'm a fan of hers, and she has a documentary that's coming out that's similar to This World Is Not My Own in terms of how they tell the story in a different way. And I think she uses puppets.
Mm.
It looks so
You
good.
had me at puppets. I'm a fan
And
of
it's a doc.
puppets.
And it's a doc. And so it's really, really good. But Yellow Rose is the one I would say.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
It's a great indie film and it should be talked about much, much more.
It is
It
going
just so
into the
happened
box.
it fell during the pandemic, so she didn't get the push.
Oh, there's so many of those too. So
Yeah.
many movies you saw and you're like, oh, big movies and small movies, but so many movies just like
Yeah.
you feel
Yeah.
so bad because, or you hear,
Yeah.
you look at the IMDb line and it says 2019 and you see it in 2022 and you're like, what happened there? It's like,
Right.
oh, pandemic happened there. So
Pandemic happened there. Yeah, yeah. And so hers fell right there because it was picked up by Sony Picture Classics, I think. And yeah.
so absolutely off the topic, but not is you. What brought movies to you? Like what makes you love movies? What happened in your life? No.
That is a good question. What happened in my life?
We
Actually
all, I
it
mean, I
was
think we're in the same boat, us, right? I mean, the us crazy cinema movie lovers, something happened to us in a good way, hopefully. But all right, tell me.
I actually did not. It was sports was my love. Like I
Okay.
loved watching sports and wanted to figure out how to work in sports in some capacity. And so an ex-boyfriend of mine, he went to film school at Florida State. And I was working for the Florida Marlins, now the Miami Marlins at the time. And so every time he would shoot something, I would go up. My first job was I was uh, catering and craft table. So,
Hey,
and
no shame in that.
exactly. And so, also, I guess, executive producer because I paid for everything.
Well,
So there's,
you brought the money.
I brought the money. And so from there, it was just little by little, just being on set and feeling the energy. And so I think that's what it is for me is that I love people with vision and ideas, and I'm there to kind of help facilitate that. Either it's through me as a producer and how I can gather resources for them, or me being able to just provide that resource, which is i.e. money or something like that.
Right. But when was that? Did you have a moment you're in that progression? So say it's progression, you sports and that
Mm-hmm.
kind of love, and then you kind of found yourself like a lot of us do, right? We find ourselves
Mm-hmm.
kind of falling into what becomes our life, which is kind of interesting how that happens. But was there a moment when you were watching a movie, whatever that movie might be, and you felt like, wow, this is actually changing me. This is impacting me in a way I never would have expected. Could be
You
silly, could
know,
be profound.
it's crazy because I haven't had a movie watching experience. I had a
Hmm.
movie making experience. And that's what, when I first started in terms of doing film full time, I was very much into social issue driven films.
Hmm.
And I wanted to make films that would change people and change the world. And so that's kind of, you know, um, I did two LGBTQ films. And even though I'm an ally, I wanted to support the vision of the filmmakers. And, I remember my first introduction to a filmmaker, and we were at a filmmaker magazine party. And he was like he's making this film. He had credit cards and he was going to make this film whether I came on board or not, but we clicked and he was just like, and what clicked for me to want to produce for him was him saying that there were no black gay films out for him. The last one was 5 years previous, which was this film called Brother to Brother, and that there wasn't anything. And so I was like, what? Exactly. And so it was like, you know what? I'm going to help him. And so this was 2007. We did this in, 2007, and we made this film. And it was, I knew that I was doing something that meant something. And then from there, it kind of veered on up.
And that is what you're talking to is what some of the things I love about movies. Sometimes I just want to be entertained. Sometimes I just want to have a ride,
Yeah.
But there's that empathy machine ability of movies. Movies can, like a great novel or a great play or great music, but movies I think in some way it's really unique that they can put you in to a world that is not your own, which for North Alabama could be a very, very valuable thing. So something like doing
Yes.
a film festival that actually uh, presents other voices, I think.
Yeah.
A movie like Joyland, which I don't know if you've seen
Exactly.
Joyland yet, but a movie like Joyland, or a variety of different kinds of movies that are on this list. Uh, Hopefully, people will allow themselves to go into a world that they don't necessarily exist in on an everyday basis, and it'll give them, if nothing else, a small view, or if better yet, a change of heart. Hopefully,
Or a conversation. If nothing
yeah,
else,
yeah,
let's have a dialogue. And it
yes,
it for me, with our festival, it doesn't have to change, but at
right,
least if you're open to have a conversation, that's a great step.
right.
Change is an amazing step, but conversation is a
Baby,
great step.
baby steps sometimes with people. Yes, even just having them take the chance to consider another point of view sometimes is very helpful.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, I know. For example, now I'm just talking to you. Um, for example, I'll hear people say like, "Oh, well, I didn't watch that because I have to read subtitles or whatever," and it's such a weird idea to me because I can't think of a week that goes by where I haven't watched a movie that's has subtitles. It's
Well,
crazy.
for me, I think because the way we're doing sound now for television and for movies, I can't hear dialogue.
Right.
And so I have to have the subtitles on regardless.
It's become a
And so
thing.
it's
It's
the
become a
thing.
thing. Yeah,
Like
where people do that all the time now.
the action is too loud, the dialogue is too low. And it's like, what is happening in the sound mix? I don't understand. And so I don't understand people who don't
Yeah.
want to read because
Well, like
I have to
when
just for a
Parasite
regular.
won,
Yeah.
when Parasite won, and the people saying like, "Oh yeah, but that's a quote foreign film," right? That you're trying to use. And you're like, "Oh boy, I see where you're coming from, dude." But I mean, yeah, hopefully that's going by the wayside. Okay,
Yeah, slowly.
back to the festival. So when is the festival happening? Where are people going to find information about it? And what do you want people to know so we can get ears and eyes out there to see some of these great films that you've programmed?
It's June 8th through the 11th. Um, Opening night is June 8th. It will be at the Intuitive Planetarium. June 9th through the 11th, it will be at the Studio Theater at Lone Mill. You can catch the rest of the programming there. We'll also have panels there. And yeah, we'll have things for everyone. The films, they range, like you said earlier, we have narratives, docs, and family friendly fare. So we have something for everyone.
And what about those people who so great, everyone wants to buy their tickets, come out, be part of the scene, do the whole thing. What about those people that are like, well, boy, I'd love to do that, but I really support this. I want this to grow, and they want to contribute in another way. How can they do that?
There's several different ways to contribute. We love for volunteers. Please, go to the website. There's a space on the website for people who want to volunteer, if they want to ask about how to donate or sponsor. So those are the different ways that people can support. And we're looking for all the ways. And then just come out, tell people, spread the word. That is the biggest thing. the one thing that we're able to do this year is bring filmmakers to the festival. So, we'll have the filmmaking team and act and subjects from The Longest Goodbye there. So we'll have former astronaut Katie Coleman, her son, the producer, and the director from the film. Black Barbie will have the director. Um, for Little Richard, we're talking to some former bandmates who will be on a panel afterwards. And where else are we? Oh, and the producer for This World Is Not My Own will be there as well. So we're really, really excited about. Oh, and the Electric Sleep. The director, that block, the 72 Experience and the Electric Sleep is like a local block. So Theo Brown it went to Oakwood and he made this film. And the 72 Experience is Cody Gover, and he is local. So we have a local block as well. So it should be fun.
Excellent. Hopefully, in years coming, there'll be more and more Southern and Alabama representation in some of these independent films. I mean, last year, one of the Academy Awards was an Alabama native. So what the heck?
Exactly.
It can happen.
Exactly.
It
And
can
then even
happen.
if you don't win awards, make good films. It'll
Exactly.
come and I'll play them.
All right. Well, I also want to thank you so much for your time, Trevite. Um,
Thank you.
Hopefully, I will see your smiling face when I'm wandering around and doing whichever screenings I'm able to make it to. Maybe with one of my kids or both of my kids. We'll see. I'm gonna see if I can drag
Sounds
them
good.
along. I drag them to so many movies. They're probably gonna be like, "No, Dad, please no."
I
All
think they'll
right.
enjoy these. So
I think they will too. Well, it was a joy talking with you, and
it's
I
a
hope
pleasure
that
too.
this festival goes swimmingly, and I hope that future festivals are even better. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Thanks for having me. Bye.